All right, guys. Now we're going to kick it over to the ACC for a old Big East game. That's now an ACC matchup between Miami and Pitt, game in Pittsburgh. Now, why are we putting this one up here in the rivalry week segment? Pitt Miami isn't to the caliber of these other rivalry games, and you are correct. However, its implications for the ACC title race are huge. If I'm not mistaken, Miami kind of holds the edge over Georgia Tech in terms of like two lost conference teams getting to the conference championship game. So where Miami sits technically right now is fifth, but that's because Georgia Tech's done with ACC play. If they were on an equal playing field, they'd be ahead of them. All right. The three teams sitting ahead of them with one loss: Virginia, who plays Virginia Tech this weekend; SMU, who I don't really know who they play, but it doesn't matter because SMU could afford a conference loss and still be ahead of Miami. So that's irrelevant in terms of Miami getting to conference championship game. And Pitt, who Miami plays. So if Miami can beat Pitt and Virginia Tech upsets Virginia on their behalf, Miami can weasel their way back into the ACC championship game against all odds, right? So that's why this game matters. Miami's favored by 6.5 on the road against the Pitt Panthers. Freddie, what are you thinking about this matchup?
So, whenever I first look at this matchup, I think about what Pitt's coach said before the Notre Dame game. Like, I don't care if we lose this game by 100. If we win the next two, that's all that matters. And I was like, oh gosh, you cannot say that if you're a head coach. You just simply can't, because then that's you're okay with losing. You're not supposed to be okay with losing. I understand the sentiment, but that just does not set a good precedent for the football team. And they did exactly that. They freaking got blown out by Notre Dame, and then they turn around and they blow out Georgia Tech. Now, that game did get close in the fourth quarter, and then Pitt busted open a run play up the middle to go up 14. So, but they played a very sound game against Georgia Tech, and we had a kind of a feeling that Georgia Tech's kind of was getting down to the point where an upset was going to happen at some point, just based upon the way that they had played the games, the five, I think, games prior to that, close and gritty against really bad teams. Miami, man, they're such a weird team to try to figure out because they're uber talented, right? It seems like they win the games that are kind of tight, that should be tighter games, but then they lose games that they should win easily. Like they beat Notre Dame. Let's not forget that. I know it was early in the season. I know all of that, but they did beat Notre Dame. So we know what this team can be on the upper end. We also know what this team can be on the lower end, and that is not very good. You got Carson Beck throwing 4 interceptions and a whole bunch of mess on offense and defense. Pitt scrappy. I'm not sold on the culture of Pitt quite yet. Um, but I think Miami gets this done, and I think they get it done and this is going to, again, chaos. If you watch the Ohio State Michigan prediction video that we did, I like chaos. I'm going to be rooting for Michigan to win that game. I'm going to be rooting for Miami to win this one, because that just throws a whole wrench in everything ACC. Because what was it, 2 weeks ago? I think Miami was the highest ranked ACC team, but had only like a 12% chance to make the conference championship. But they were sitting up there in the playoffs predicted bracket or whatever, like based upon the rankings. And we knew that was just a placeholder. Well, if you win this game and then you get one more thing happen, that's a reality. And here we are. We thought that that was just a placeholder. Whatever, Miami, whatever. But it's a reality at this point. And I think that Miami's going to be able to get it done and cause a little bit of chaos in the ACC. I still think they're a really good football team, offensively and defensively. I really like Carson Beck. It's just Mario Cristobal has got to learn to coach in late game situations. His clock and time management is one of the worst I've ever seen as a P4 head coach. And that goes all the way back to Oregon. He had the same crap happen whenever he was at Oregon. So you got to get that fixed, but I don't think that's going to be an issue in this game in particular. Just give me Miami.
Man, give some love to the Panthers. They had
Yeah.
Eli Holstein, former Alabama quarterback that transferred over. Everybody's really hyped about him. And he had some good showings between last year and this year, but they finally moved over, and I'm gonna crush his name. I'm so sorry, but Heinschel. We're gonna go there, Heinschel, and he's
Sure.
done exceptionally well. So earlier this year, they coughed up 2 losses to West Virginia and Louisville, and you're looking at it and you're like, oh man, this team's just not great. They make the change, and since then they've only lost to Notre Dame. Pittsburgh has been kind of on a tear. Can't lie. Notre Dame, they did get crushed at home. Let's not forget that. But Notre Dame is a very sound football team that had to find themselves. They had a team that went far in the playoffs last year, had to find a new quarterback, had to find some new things, had to really get going with Jeremiah Love. So you can't really fault them for their slow start this season. But they've really kicked into gear late. So if somebody's losing to Notre Dame from the past 6 weeks, I'm going to say that's okay because Notre Dame's been a very, very good ball team. I hate everything about Carson Beck and the Hurricanes. I do. I think they are one of the most fraudulent teams to exist in college football year in and year out. You can take away Carson Beck, you can take away Mario Cristobal. It doesn't matter. Every single year, Miami is getting to the point where it is the overdue hype every single year, or overhype every single year, like USC used to get the mid.
I knew you were going to bring up
USC
USC.
the mid 2010s. It's getting there. If they do it one more year, if they end like I predict Miami to end this season, and they start out in the top 10 next year, it's going to be the start of next year for it. It's going to really give me the USC mid 2010s or early 2010s. Man, they're top 10. They're this. They're that. They're going to be so good. 7-5, 8-4. Here's a bowl game. Congrats. Great job. One good season. Congrats. You get all these quarterbacks, you do all these great things, you still somehow lose 2 unprecedented games you didn't need to lose. I'm going to offer you another one right here, right now. I think Pitt's going to whip you. I think they're going to put the smack down on you. I think their offense has been absolutely flowing this season. And my problem with Miami is they don't ever show up in the games they need to show up in. You can get this game, and there's a chance something happens in the ACC, like Freddie mentioned, that there is some chaos that ensues, and you're moving around. You're on the cusp of the college football playoff as you sit right now. A lot of things can change. You can mess a lot of things up. But I think Pitt's going to mess it up. Miami's going to get their hopes crushed. Miami's not going to play good ball. I'm going to go Pitt in this one.
So here's what I'll say about Miami doesn't show up in the games they're supposed to. I would say they've had what was really circled as either 3 or 4 big games this year. And I'm talking about in the week where they were playing it. The Notre Dame game, which the Florida State game, which they won.
Yep.
Maybe the Florida game if you squint at it. But I'll be willing to say that one does. And then the SMU game, which they lost in overtime. The other loss they had was Louisville, which at the time wasn't viewed like a big game. It was like, oh, you get Louisville at home on a Friday night, and then Louisville upset them. And the Louisville hype really started after they beat Miami, not before. I'm going back and forth because of explicitly because of what Pat Narduzzi said. I don't care what happens in the Notre Dame game. Goes and gets blown out by Notre Dame. Completely uncompetitive game. Then goes and plays Georgia Tech. Dominates. Because I don't care what happens in that game. All that matters is the next 2. And here's the reality of that. They win against Miami. Pitt's going to the ACC title game.
Mm-hmm.
Probably playing either SMU or Virginia or Georgia Tech again. Because you eliminate Miami if you beat Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I like Pitt in all of those matchups. So we could see a world where Pitt squeezes their way into the freaking playoff. But Big Game Mario, that's what they call him down there. Big Game Mario. They could look, pure talent, Miami wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't trust Mario. I'm with Chase. I don't trust Mario Cristobal. I think Pitt's going to win this game. I don't know how they're going to do it. They shouldn't do it. Miami should beat them. But I think Pitt's going to find a way to get it. It's going to be cold. Those South Florida boys up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, after Thanksgiving, no, thank you. I like Pitt to win the game. And honestly, I think you start looking at Mario Cristobal not being the coach at Miami by the end of 2020. Not this year, but by the end of next year. Give me Pitt to get it done.
Hot seat starts to get a little warm, huh?
Oh, yeah.
The heated seat gets turned on.
With the roster you've had the last 2 years in the dog booty conference of the ACC, where Florida State and Clemson aren't any good.
Yeah.
And you aren't getting to the, no. With SMU and either Virginia or Pitt or SMU again. Or I guess technically Clemson won it last year, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it gets hot.